So this morning we talked about the secret mantra Vajrayana, and in the secret mantra Vajrayana there are the three outer classes of Tantra, the three inner classes of Tantra, and we covered the three outer classes of Tantra rather briefly. And then for the inner classes of Tantra, there is the visualizations, the visualization stage of the Mahayoga, the Mahayoga, the Anu Yoga of meditating on wind. And so there's the creation phase, which meditations, which are, there's the Mahayoga, which primarily emphasizes the creation phase, and then the completion phase is primarily emphasized in the second and third of the three inner tantras, the Anu and Ati Yoga. And so with the completion phase, there are two different parts of the completion phase. There is the completion phase with reference points and that without. And so the completion phase with reference points is the meditation upon the channels, winds, and essences, then the second, the completion phase without reference is the unelaborate activity of the yoga. And so of these two, the completion phase with references is meditating upon the channels, winds, and essences, and so emphasizing those, working with those essences, working with the winds. And this is primarily taught in the inner tantra called Anu Yoga, the second. And then, so we've come to the Ati Yoga, which, as it says here on the last paragraph of page 13, Ati Yoga, which is the without duality of creation and completion. So Ati Yoga here is the yoga that transcends the creation phase and transcends the completion phase. It is the union of these. It is the Ati, or the supreme yoga. And so, as the third Karmapa, Rangjun Dorje, said in his aspiration prayer for Mahamudra, free from mental engagement, it is the great seal, or Mahamudra. Free from extremes, it is the great middle way. And the perfection of everything, it is the great perfection, and so may I realize the one thing that is the meaning of all. And so here, it's free of all mental engagement. Because it is free of any mental engagement, it is free of any extremes, it is the union of clarity and emptiness, it is Mahamudra. And then the way that is, the nature of that, is free of any extremes or elaborations. So that is the great middle way. Not only is it the great middle way, but all of the qualities are perfect within it. And so it is the great perfection, the Dzogchen. And so here, these are the instructions, that by knowing this one instruction, we can realize the nature of how things are. And so this is a way of teaching the essence of Mahamudra and Dzogchen together, teaching them, explaining them as being the same. It is a method of recognizing the nature of the mind, looking at the nature of the mind, practicing and meditating upon that. And so that is the great perfection, the Ati Yoga. So whether we're talking about Mahamudra or talking about Dzogchen, in general we have the path of means, which primarily emphasizes means, and then there is the path of liberation, which primarily emphasizes the full knowing or intelligence, the prajna. And so in terms of Mahamudra, the path of means is the profound path of the six yogas. It is the completion phase of Kala Chakra, the six applications. So these are all the path of means. And so these are not taught here. There is some mention of the channels and winds, but they're not taught in detail here. Then the aspect of the intelligence, the aspect of the full knowing, is the path of liberation, which is Mahamudra. And so, as we explained yesterday, this in root, this is really the union of the expanse and wisdom, the way that actually is. And so, realizing it, developing certainty in what that is like, and then on the basis of that, gaining an experience, and then meditating upon that experience and proceeding down that path properly. Through doing this, we can subdue all of our afflictions and all of the wrong thoughts that we have. And so through that we can gain a taste of what it is like, gain some realization. And so that is the path of liberation of Mahamudra. In terms of the Dzogchen tradition, the path of means is the path of Tugal, or the sudden leap. And so here, that is the path. And again, it's not clearly taught here, but these are different methods of realizing things, but it's the same sort of method. So this primarily teaching method is the practices of Tugal, or the sudden leap, and then emphasizing the full knowing and the prajna. That is the primordially pure view of Trekchö, the cutting through. And so when we say the primordially pure, this means that it has been there from the very beginning. From the very beginning, it has been pure. It is the Dharma nature. It is the expanse of the Dharma nature the way it is. It is the way the union of expanse and wisdom is, and practicing that directly. And so that is the primordially pure view of cutting through. And so here, this primordially pure view of cutting through and Mahamudra are the same. The essence of these two is the same. When we talk about the path of means, the two are different. They have different means. But here in this text, the path of means is not taught. Whether we're talking about the path of means for Mahamudra or the path of Dzogchen, it is not here taught. But what is taught here is the view of the primordially pure cutting through. And so the main aspect of this is that in the Hatha Yoga, it asserts that all phenomena of existence and appearance, samsara and nirvana, are complete in the expanse of awareness, wisdom. So all the things that appear and exist. So the world, the environment of the world, all the sentient beings within it, everything in samsara, all of nirvana, all of these are complete within the expanse of the awareness wisdom. And so this, according to the lower philosophical schools, as we talk about all of this that appears is just the appearing aspect of the mind. And so that the nature of that mind is the awareness wisdom. And so in this way, everything is within the expanse of this awareness wisdom. It is present within, it is complete and perfect within the expanse of this awareness wisdom. And so in this way, everything is contained within it. So, because everything is contained within the expanse of awareness wisdom, if we recognize the nature of the mind, and then through that we can gain a direct experience of what the Dharma nature is like. And then once we have that experience, we can then meditate upon that experience, and then through meditation in both the equipoise and the post-meditation, we can follow this as a fast path and as a superior path, because everything is complete within the expanse of awareness wisdom. And so the nature of this there is nothing that is, when we look at the essence of it, it's not that there are things that are good, it's not that there are things that are bad. Thus, everything, as it says in the text, thus everything that appears, that is fixated upon as an appearance, that is empty and so forth, wells up out of the Dharmakaya. So when anything that is there, we can't say it's good, we can't say it's bad. It all wells up out of the Dharmakaya. That means that it is like the magical play of the Dharmakaya, magical emanation of this, or the wondrous emanation of the Dharmakaya. So it's within the expanse of this, there is nothing that we can really say is an appearance that is empty or that is attached to. It all just wells up out of the Dharmakaya. The root of all of this is that it is within the expanse of the Dharmakaya, within the expanse of the wisdom. And so as it continues, it does not need to be newly established through the play of energy of the path. So it's not like it's something that isn't there and then we meditate upon the path and then it is there. It's not like that. It has always, it has all been there from the very beginning. But one gains the realization that it has always been awakened. And so through studying and contemplating this, we can develop the real certainty, the wonderful certainty of this. Through experiencing it in meditation, we can develop wonderful meditation of it. Thus, Ati Yoga is like the pinnacle of the path. It is like the highest of the paths. So it is the ultimate of all vehicles, the final destination of all results, the fastest, greatest, and best of all paths, and the profound dharma that can bestow liberation in an instant. And so here this is really presenting it very much as the view of the primordially purity of cutting through. So this is this should be understood as coming to realize what the essence of the nature of the mind is like. And so this is really wonderful, it is superior, and because of this, if we believe in this, and then we can be excited about the fact that we've had the opportunity to find such dharma, and with such excitement we'll be able to practice. And if we are practiced, we will really be able to come to a wonderful result. So the text continues. The mind succession of phenomena and posits that the play that appears outside is the ornament of the Dharma nature, and so forth. And so in the Dzogchen, there are different sections of the Dzogchen teaching. There is the mind section, there is the expanse section, and there is the section of the inseparable instructions. These three sections. And here they are presented in brief. As it says later on in the paragraph, there are these and many other elaborations, but explaining the naked profound meaning at its best without hiding anything is not pleasant to the ears of intellectuals. And the profound intent of mantra is sounded secretly, so I'm only giving brief illustrations of it. So it's teaching it very, very concisely. So that basically completes these instructions of Khenpo Gangshar. And so as I have explained yesterday, it's really important for us to study these philosophical schools, to study the philosophical texts and the various texts. And so when we study these texts, it is not just for the purpose of becoming learned and scholarly. That's not the only point of doing it. It's something that we also need to do it because it's helpful for our practice. And so when we read them, then we can develop real belief. And when we have that belief, then we have that certainty. And when we have that, it is really helpful for us. And so we need this sort of certainty. But how do we develop certainty? Well, we develop the certainty through reasoning, through using inference and reasoning. Because of that, we develop. And when we have this reasoning shouldn't be something that's just, it shouldn't be reasoning that's just following, blowing with the wind, to say it is you aren't blown there with the wind, you aren't blown away with the wind either. So to put it idiomatically in English, you're not blown there with the wind means you're not brought there by someone else. So it's not like when the Lama is talking and you're reading, you're saying, hey, yeah, that's great, that's right, it is. But when the Lama is finished and you're not reading anymore, it's like, what was that? I don't remember. How did that go? Or I don't think that really is. I don't think, I'm not sure about that. But then the Lama speaks again and says, oh yeah, that's right. Well, that's when you're just blown there by the wind. When you're guided there by someone else. And then when you're blown away by the wind, when you can be easily distracted by someone else, is when someone says, that Buddhist view, that's not really how it is. These are the reasons why it's not like this. This is why it is wrong and all this. And so when someone says, you said, oh, maybe it isn't like that. It shouldn't be like that. You should be able to say, no, this is how it is. I've really thought it through thoroughly. This really is what it's like. This is the experience that I have from my practice. And so we have this. This is like the root of all the Dharma. It's having this, so that we aren't like a leaf in the wind blown hither and thither. So we need to have that good studying, and that is really beneficial to do that. And so then in addition to that, we need to have practice. And of course, there's really no need for me to talk, to say how beneficial practice is to all of you. You all have really understood the main points. You've gotten the main point of that. But when you practice, and you study about this, it's not like it should just be something that it's sort of just there. It's something you have to really do it. And so if you can study and do it well, then it will be very beneficial. And so I ask that you please do your study and your practice well. Now, over the past couple of days, I've recommended that you read a few books and that you study a few books. And so some people have said, well, what books should we read? And so in terms of the books that we should read about the subject of Ngundro, the preliminary practices. Have you got your pencils ready? For Ngundro practice, you should read, of course, for our special Kaju Ngundro, you should read The Torch of Certainty by Jamgon Kongtrul Lodro Tai. And then a general book is The Words of My Perfect Teacher by Patrul Rinpoche. So The Torch of Certainty by Jamgon Kongtrul Lodro Tai and The Words of My Perfect Teacher by Patrul Rinpoche. Then in terms of philosophy, you should read The Ornament of the Middle Way by Shanti Rakshita with a commentary by Mipam Rinpoche. And as an aside, there are two different translations of this available. I don't know which is better. I haven't read either. But there are two translations, one available from Wisdom, I think, and one from, or is it Snowline, and one from Shambhala. So there are two translations of The Ornament of the Middle Way, both under the same title, I think. And so there is also a new version, a new translation of the 9th Karmapa Wangpo Dorje's commentary on Entering the Middle Way, which is called A Feast for the Fortunate, published by Snow Lion. So this is also available. These are wonderful instructions. This is a great book. And so these are the presentations of the Middle Way from the point of view of the autonomist school and the consequentist school. Now, when you read The Ornament of the Middle Way in particular, this is not just the Middle Way. In the beginning, it's joined with the view of Dzogchen and Mahamudra, and in the end, it's joined with the teachings on validity or pramana. And then throughout it, there's a lot of logic that proves such things as past and future lives. There are discussion of how appearances happen, how all appearances are mind. There are discussions of how everything is emptiness. There's a good presentation of proving the selflessness of the individual. So if you study this in the future, when you read when you come to the instructions on Mahamudra and Dzogchen, it will be very helpful and very easy for you to realize that. So those two texts, The Ornament of the Middle Way and The Feast for the Fortunate, or is it called the Karmapa's Middle Way? Maybe it's called the Karmapa's Middle Way. At any rate, it's either the Feast for the Fortunate or the Karmapa's Middle Way. Those present the self-empty view, the autonomist and the consequentialist view. Then for the other empty middle way, there are many texts. In particular, there is the Supreme Continuum. I think commentary is translated under the title Buddha Nature. There are several versions of it. And then there are also the treatises by the third Karmapa, the Distinguishing Consciousnesses from Wisdom, or there's a commentary by Rinpoche on this called Distinguishing Everyday Consciousness from Primordial Wisdom, something like that, by Rinpoche, translated by Susanna Shevchik, very good. And then also his teachings on the Buddha nature. There's also a version of Rinpoche's commentary in English on that one. These are really wonderful books. They teach you what the Dharma nature is like, how they are. And so if you read them and you study them, it is really wonderful. I feel that's sort of like I'm leading an infomercial right now. I'm sorry. And then in terms of the instructions on Mahamudra, Of course, there are the instructions such as the ocean of certainty and so forth. And they're wonderful instructions, but sometimes we want short and easy instructions. And so the short and easy instructions are in the 9th Karmapa's, what is it called? Oh yes, pointing out the Dharmakaya. Putting a finger on the Dharmakaya, another wonderful one is Dabo Tashi Namjo's clarifying the natural state, and so this is a really wonderful one. It teaches the path very clearly. And so both of these, you read these, then if you read them, then it's just a question of whether you're diligent about the path. You get this feeling it's only a question of whether you do it or not. If you don't do it, then of course there's no hope. But you get the feeling reading like this that if you actually do this, you will come to a good result. And so this is really helpful to follow these instructions. So if you study these and then practice them and meditate, then if you can do really wonderful, if you can have 100% diligence, if you are extremely diligent about it, that is absolutely great. But even if you can't be that diligent about it, at least you have the good imprints that you're making on yourself. And at least you're giving yourself these good imprints. If you have faith and devotion, and in the future, there's no way that this is not going to produce a wonderful result. And so it's really important to read these and study them. So you all have come here and you've come to these Dharma teachings and you have a lot of faith and devotion. This is wonderful. You've come here to practice the Dharma. And so this is really wonderful that you've come here, because we're in a developed country, and in developed countries there are lots of distracting things. There are many wonderful things that can distract you. It's not like we're in some poor, underdeveloped country where there's nothing to distract you from practice. We're in a very developed country, and here there are lots of nice shows, amusement parks, things to go, things to see, movies, restaurants, everything to go and get distracted with. But you have put them all aside, and you have come to what really can give true lasting meaning to life, the genuine Dharma. This is really a sign that you are intelligent. It's a sign of your faith in the Dharma. Not only that, in developed countries such as this, we have a lot of work, and that is important work that has real benefits. It is important. And often it really depends upon you. It's hard to put aside. But you have said that it is not as important. You have come here to practice the Dharma, to study the Dharma. You've made that most important. This is a sign of your real faith and devotion. And so I would like to thank you very much for all that. That's enough for today.
No